Hello and welcome everybody. Today we continue studying the very sharp outcome of Morphy attack in the two knights defense. And today I'd like to bring your attention just very typical, very short miniature games which were played in this sharp opening line. After e4, e5, knight f3, knight c6, bishop c4 and knight f6, d4, e takes d4, we studied just short castling, and knight takes e4 line. After rook e1 and d5, as we know, the best continuation according to the theory is to capture on d5. After queen takes d5, white has the tactical nuance that after knight c3, black cannot accept this knight with the pawn because queen takes d5, and at the same time the knight on e4 is pinned. So black has to move its queen. And from this point I just found a lot of very different, very interesting games which were played, and where one side just punish the opponent for one opening mistake. So let's look at that games. After queen a5, instead of standard theoretical move knight takes e4, in one of the game white plays rook takes e4 check. After bishop e6, knight takes d4, suddenly rook d8 put white's into the quite unpleasant position. So black is pinning the white's knight on d4. At the same time, black is threatening to play bishop c5, increase the attack over the d4 knight. White suddenly, in one of the games, played knight c to b5, but completely overlooked that knight still cannot go away after simple tactical trick, queen takes b5, white find out that the queen on b5 is untouchable. So knight takes b5 will be met by rook takes d1 with a checkmate. So very short game, just 11 moves, and black already won. So rook takes e4 is quite serious inaccuracy. That's why it's important to play knight takes e4 and not rook takes e4. Even in this position, after knight takes e4 and bishop e7, in one of the game, instead of the strongest continuation like we saw before, bishop g5, in the Czech championship in 1995, one of the players decided just to win back the pawn immediately after knight takes d4. What he overlooked, that after knight takes d4 and queen takes d4, he completely missed this typical mate on e1. So queen from a5 is looking at white's rook to e1. So queen takes e1 was a big surprise, I guess, for white. One more game. So after queen a5, white played the right way, knight takes e4, bishop e6, and instead of strongest continuation knight g5, white opted for quite rare move, bishop d2. Of course, this move is not leading to any advantage for white, but it has some tactical idea. After queen d5, that move was played, bishop g5. White is looking for the opportunities. Look, in case black's playing bishop b4, white could move c3. What is that? It looks like black could just simply capture the pawn, but in that case coming surprising answer. Knight f6 check. Black is forced to capture. And then queen takes d5. Look at that. The bishop on e6 pinned. So this is great opening trap. So seems like black understood the white's idea, and instead of playing bishop b4, decided to develop its bishop to c5. What's the problem about that move? That move is also leads to the very difficult position, because white is simply playing, look at that move, another tactical trick, c4. Suddenly black's queen cannot capture the pawn on c4. After queen takes c4 and rook c1, white is simply gaining the full piece. Queen cannot go to f5 because what do we do? Knight h4 over. So the queen is gone. Look at that position. Unbelievable. Black already lost. Queen e5, knight f6 check. And after d takes c3, white already could play queen takes d5, bishop takes d5, and knight takes c5. But of course, more precise continuation, of course, knight f6 check. And after g takes f6, queen takes d5. Game is over. Very, very nice. So c4 is just finishing the game. You can ask, okay, why not just to develop the bishops and to d6? Here's the same problem. White could once again play c4, but in that case, queen takes c4 is not so bad anymore. Indeed, in one game, black just decided to capture, and after knight f6 immediately resigned. So the same tactical ideas in so many different games. So pay attention to this. c4 threat. Okay. So one more game. And once again played rook takes e4, which as we know already, it's not so great move. And after bishop e6, knight takes d4, instead of best move rook d8, black simply captured, just exchanged. White captured, queen takes d4. And rook d8, attacking the queen. So white decided, okay, let's just exchange everything. Takes. Now black cannot reach the d1 square immediately, but once again tactical trick, and black is winning. How? b5, decoying the knight from the b5 square, from the d1 square. Knight takes b5 will be met by rook d1 checkmate. And what else? If rook goes somewhere, that after b4, black is reaching the d1. Let's say knight e2 or knight b5, same. Rook check and the mate. Game is over. So short could be white's life after just one opening mistake. Okay. Let's continue. From the start. e4, e5. Knight f3. Knight c6. Bishop c4. Knight f6. d4. E takes d4. Short castling. Knight takes e4. Rook e1. d5. Bishop takes d5. Queen takes d5. Knight c3. Queen a5, knight takes e4, bishop e6. Knight e to g5, long castling. Knight takes e6, f takes e6, rook takes e6, and bishop d6. So all this line is well known. And now white, instead of playing bishop g5, as we know is the best continuation, immediately played queen e2. What he missed, that after queen h5, there's no time anymore for developing the dark square bishop. So white at this situation must play something like h3. Indeed, what happened in the game? White moved bishop d2. And black came here with a nice combination. White is not worse. White is in big trouble. Can you imagine that after just one move white resigned? And this move is just pawn's move, d3, freeing the d4 square for the knight, with the idea to get rid of the only defender of the h2 square, this black's reaching the material advantage. After queen takes d3 and bishop h2, the queen is gone, so just discover check. And in case of c takes d3, knight d4, this is decisive fork to all the white's pieces. So black is winning instantly because knight takes d4 will be met by queen takes h2 check, king f1, and queen h1 checkmate. So you can see how fast games could finish in the Morphy attack, also from white, also from black side. And many of my students usually are asking, okay, if this position is so complicated, why shall I go for it? Maybe it's just better after d4 to play simple move knight takes e4. Why not? It looks so good. So in our previous lectures, we already know that playing knight takes e4 in such situation is quite dangerous, but not always you understand why. Why it's so bad. And I even played one game with that line many years ago when I was just around 14. So after d takes e5, white is intending to go with the queen to d5 and also intending to capture bishop takes f7. So black is having strong knight on e4, but this knight is hanging in all these variations. Also white is keeping the full control over the d5 square. And now I would like to show you my game when black played knight c5. 1 second, Andy, I would like to put the names. So after knight c5, white is possessing clear advantage. So all the center squares under white's control. Just continue developing. So knight comes into the center, bishop e7. Short castling. And black also going for short castling. And white just plays queen e2, ready to bring the rook on d1 in case black is playing d6. It's not so easy now for black to get rid of white's initiative in the center. So my opponent played a6. Try maybe to push b5 and then to bring bishop to b7. a4, b6. So it's only opportunity for black to develop the bishop. In case black is avoiding d6 move, so it's quite necessary to bring the bishop to b7. Knight d5. Knight e6. bishop e3, bishop c5. So I didn't like to exchange my knight on d5. This knight is so strong for the black's dark square bishop. So I just started to put all my pieces looking towards the black's position on the king side. After bishop takes e3 and queen takes e3, all my pieces are very strongly posed in the center, and black has to look after the king side attack. So now the better continuation, of course, best continuation for black was trying to play h6, somehow avoiding immediate disaster. But my opponent decided to get rid of white's strong bishop on d3. And this now leads to the very interesting complication. White's combination is deciding the game right now. Let's see what happened. Of course, I'm not going to move away my bishop from d3, because in that case, black is trying to play maybe next move bishop b7 and then d6 or rook e8. So much more logical is trying to perform something on the king side where all our pieces looking toward. Look at that. Bishop on d3, knight on d5. Pawn on e5 is also great help. Queen on e3, knight on f3. So white is having 5 pieces in the game. 5 pieces looking to the black's king side. Definitely, according to the principle of Steinitz, if you have the initiative, you have to attack. Otherwise, you would lose your advantage. And I found here, it's not so difficult combination. Knight f6 check. Let's try to understand. G takes f6, not possible, losing immediately after queen h6. There is no way to stop the checkmate on h7. Why? After f takes e5, queen takes h7 is quite obvious. And rook e8, despite the fact white could win immediately after e takes f6, white is having this position checkmate in 5 moves. Look at that. 1. It's in 4 moves even. 2. This move is important to set the next target. 3 and 4. So pay attention to this. Bishop is capturing the pawn on h7 with the idea to move on g6. This could be by this discovery check. So we just create the additional target in black's position, the pawn on f7, and then combining the queen and the bishop, finishing the game. So it's already bad news for black. It's not possible to capture the knight. And after queen h6, maybe this is what I missed my opponent, that after knight takes d3 and e takes f6, there is no way to stop the decisive queen g7 checkmate. So you see, my pawn on e5 joins the attack in that case. So after knight f6 check, black played king h8. Definitely white is having now opportunity to capture the pawn. Rook e8. And I just spend my time because it looks so easy, so winning. But I didn't find immediate solution. So all the lines were not so clear because black is intending to capture my bishop on d3 all the time. So I remember I spent here maybe 30 minutes because in such a situation when all your pieces in attack should be some decisive combination, but it's so hard to find. Finally, after 30 minutes of considerations, I find the great solution. So that may be the most brilliant combination I even performed in my life. Even I was just 15 years old. I played knight f3 to g5. So white is intending to capture f7 pawn. Black's only answer is definitely knight takes e5. And what to do now? Looks like move like queen h3 is winning, because white is intending knight f6 with a checkmate. But after king g8, it's not so simple to find the decisive threat, because any movement by the knight, that's after knight f6, queen takes f6, black is not losing yet. So knight on e5 and opportunity to run away with the king to f8 after queen h7 check is not giving white any decisive advantage. And black at the same time intending to capture one of my bishop and then maybe to play d5 attacking my queen. So what else I would like to say? In such a situation, many players just gets lost, because many they're getting lost because it's so many opportunities for white here. So knight takes f7, queen h3, knight f8, whatever. But I already saw here the solution. White is going to sacrifice one more piece, f4, attacking the knight. So more or less black's answer is forced. Knight takes d3. And now white is not playing knight f7 check, because black not forced to capture on h7, allowing white queen h3 check and then knight takes d8 with a decisive material advantage. But after knight takes f7, black even could answer king g8, and at the same time the knight on f7 is under attack, and rook takes e3 hanging. So white's queen is hanging at the same time. So white has no time for capturing the queen on d8. So it's not possible to play knight takes f7. It's still not possible to play queen h3, because after king g8, how to finish the game? White is having all the pieces in the attack, but it's not winning yet. My opponent, I could tell you, my opponent here was quite happy about his position. So he saw that my attack is gone, and he liquidated all my threats. Indeed, after the next move, he resigned. Can you find this move? Just one move and he resigned. And I saw this move already when I played knight f3 to g5. Look at that. Knight h7 to f6. This is the... I could only dream about this greatest sit-up and this greatest pattern, tactical pattern. So after knight f6, white is ready to come with the queen to h3. So white freeing, clearing the h file for the queen. At the same time, white is intending knight takes f7 checkmate. Look at this, that brilliant position. So white with the two knights checkmates black's king in the corner of the board. Queen takes f6 not possible, because queen takes e8, immediate check. What else? Queen h3 threats. Knight takes f7 threats. G takes f6 not working, because queen h3 check. Queen h7 check. And queen takes f7 checkmate. Done. So black is completely done after knight f6. My opponent here was incredibly surprised after this knight f6 shot. And after a very short consideration, he resigned, because even if you check this position with the computer said is made in 4 moves, and black cannot stop it. Even white is having almost all his pieces under attack. Queen, knight, and the piece down. Black just completely hopeless in this position. So that is example what could happen in case black is not going for the most critical continuation, like we saw e takes d4. So you must take the conclusion that always in chess you have to go for the most principal continuation, most principal line, and in that position as I said, according to the Stanitz rule, if black is not going to lose immediately in this position, he must capture the pawn on e4. This is most critical and the best continuation, of course. So knight takes e4 is completely necessary. After rook e1 and g5, even despite the fact white is winning back the piece after bishop takes d5, queen takes d5, and knight c3, white cannot pretend on anything better, anything more than equal position, equal game. So, just with these two lessons, more or less, we completing this d2, d4 Morphy's attack. And the next time, I would like to pay attention to the last gambit line in the two knights defense. This knight g5 in the fried liver, the Chigorin's counterattack, which started with the move knight a5. So many users, many ICC members ask me to cover this interesting position, this strongest continuation for black according to this theory. And next week, please follow me in the Chigorin's counterattack in the two knights defense. Thanks everybody for watching. See you next week. Bye.